There is a huge list of outgrowing wait lists, I guess, at the moment for kids in need of therapy. And if the people who work with them every day can implement some small changes, us working with them, I think we know the stats that we work with them once a week. It's like 0.095% of their week. But they see their educators and their teachers daily. And so something small can really make a huge impact.
Hello and welcome to the Healthy Business Lab podcast, where we interview and have amazing chats with awesome allied health business owners to share their learnings, insights, and everything in between. Today, I'm super excited to have Shakila Ramathasan from Speak to Sparkle. And welcome to the show, Shakila.
Thank you, Craig. Thank you so much for having me today.
It's great to have you on board. And again, we've had a chat before now, and I'm excited to be sharing your sort of model to get insights of that. But I do want to start with your expertise. At the end of the day, your speech pathology, and you focus on kids and the pediatric space. As business owners, I always say we need to look after ourselves and also our families. If we're looking after our families and looking after ourselves, then it's usually easier to manage our business life as well. So I'd love for you to give a bit of a background around yourself and your expertise and how you sort of work with kids in the speech pathology space, because I'm sure there's some insights there that our busy business owners out there with their own kids might be able to pick up some sort of key little insights that you get from you sharing a bit of your background and a bit of your expertise as to what you got you to where you are today.
Yeah. My business name, so like you said, Speak to Sparkle Speech Pathology, and I work with lots of littlies, up until the age of 18, but my favourite age is the under fives and primary school years. And honestly, it's so rewarding to work with these little people. I learn more from them than they learn from me, to be honest. Their resilience, their drive, families that we work with as well, they really just make this profession so rewarding. And I have to admit that it's been one of the most rewarding things I've done in my life, is to work with these little people and their families. I started this business when I had just had my daughter, so I've got a 4-year-old at the moment. She was about 9 months old when I went back to work. So I started my own service where I wanted it to be accessible to families in need. And also from my own perspective as well, I have a young family and I know the importance of not being able to go to the clinic for appointments on a weekly, fortnightly, sort of monthly basis, and working with families in their homes, in the childcare, daycares, kinders, schools, whatever in the community, wherever is most beneficial for the family. I wanted to be able to provide that service there for them. And so we work alongside our families to ensure that they feel supported. It's where they want, and it works with their family dynamic. A lot of families that we work with, work 9 to 5 jobs, Monday to Friday, and then they don't have the opportunity to take their kids to the clinic after 5, 6 o'clock. And to be honest, it's very late for these little people to be learning at this point. And so working with the children in their everyday settings, so their daycares, kinders, schools, allows us to also work alongside their educators to teach them the skills and strategies, and then also liaise with parents. Sometimes the parents may meet us just prior to drop off, and we have a conversation with them and show them some of the techniques, or post the sessions. We do telehealth calls with the families, again, teach them some more functional skills that they can do in an everyday environment. Kids get homework enough, parents have enough pressure on themselves. I know that as a parent myself. So making it easy and accessible, that was our goal.
That's awesome. I'd love to sort of delve into the processes and the thoughts that you went through in that phase of that model that you're talking about. It's not the most common one out there. Again, most people have the clinic. So again, your background of getting to that point, I can hear all the whys as to the benefits that you're seeing from that. But what was the decision-making process that you went through when you sort of went, actually, no, this is the way that I'm going to do it. I am going to do this a little bit different. What was it like back at that point in time?
I think for me in my career, I have done working in clinics before, and we see the same kids day in, day out, the same families, the same people. And what I really enjoy about our model at the moment is every day is different. Although we're seeing the same child, if their sessions are weekly or fortnightly, monthly, whatever it may be, we're seeing different teachers, we're seeing different educational support officers, we're seeing different educators in the daycare settings, we're meeting directors of centres, we're meeting leaders in the room, we're also meeting support staff. And these are all the people that are on the ground level working with these kids on an everyday basis. And I remember even when I was working in a clinic prior, I had done a few visits already, and I thought, gosh, this is amazing that you get to not only work with the child in their everyday setting while they're playing at daycare, inside, outside, with their friends, building those social skills with their network themselves. Having them come into the clinic and building skills in pragmatics or social skills is one thing to work with us or in a small group with their parents and siblings, but working in their everyday environment, I thought was just so beneficial. And we definitely see more progress working in that space than we do sort of in that clinic, four walls, white walls environment.
I think that was one of the questions that was bubbling away there as you were talking, and having worked in an environment where you kind of did do the side by side at that time. Was that a really sort of pivotal time that made you look at the wider picture and go, hey, on this hand, this is really nourishing for me. This brings a whole lot of benefits for me in what I do as well.
Exactly.
But on the other side of that, the outcomes that you were seeing is that, you got similar client over here and a similar one over there, but one's potentially you could see different outcomes as a result of the different approach. Is that a fair comment?
Yes, definitely. And I think building those meaningful relationships was huge for us. For me in particular, going out and working with these educators and teachers, I'm not just working with them for that one particular client. I'm giving them knowledge and skills to use across the board. And so if that one thing that they take away from us and use it, say, in a whole class approach or use it with other children who have similar needs, we should see the reduced need of the amount of kids that are coming through and are on wait lists. Look, there is a huge list of outgrowing wait lists, I guess, at the moment for kids in need of therapy. And if the people who work with them every day can implement some small changes, us working with them, I think we know the stats, if we work with them once a week, it's like 0.095% of their week. But they see their educators and their teachers daily. And so something small can really make a huge impact.
I love that. I love the idea. I just got a little goosebumps here in that thinking of, again, the ripple effect of we could do the same thing that is within four walls and nobody else hears the benefit of some of the gold that you're imparting with the child and the caregiver at that point in time. But then that ability to be able to share it in an environment that has the rub off and the ripple effect through the children that will be within those spaces if you're doing social stuff. And again, the educators that are also there, that educators are amazing. And because they generally want to learn as well, they're picking up all the little insights, which I know even as a parent and somebody who loves to be educated, sitting in some of those sessions one-on-one, how many things it's applied for this child, but it actually applies for this one over here, and do coaching over here. And, okay. There's just so many benefits for that process.
It's great. I mean, I've built so many wonderful relationships over the years. And in particular, so many of these educators and teachers will say to me, I've just got this one child and there's XYZ that we want to work with. And how can we start this conversation with the family? And of course, it's all confidential. We don't exchange names or anything like that, but they're always talking about a child and how can we make a difference for them? And so I love speaking to them about, why don't you try this? Or, show them this social media page. There is this resource out there on this particular website. There's so many ways to access information now, and just building and having these conversations regularly, it has just been paramount with a lot of these children and families.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, communication is such an essential part of the human experience, and getting in at the ground floor of that and being able to have an impact on that is, I can just see your face lighting up there and you can hear it in your voice as to what you do. So I'd love to sort of talk a little bit on the business side of that now. And we always talk about experiments here in the Healthy Business Lab of things we've done that have worked, that haven't worked, that we've learned from, and experimenting with stuff. Obviously, the model itself being more of a mobile rather than a practice-based approach is a pretty big experiment. Talk us through some of the challenges with that model, though, from a business management perspective.
I think in the pediatric space, one of the big challenges for us is using time effectively. Although the flexibility is amazing, especially for parents who are in this role or, business owners who are also parents, being able to see clients and still be able to drop your kids to and from school, like the flexibility is great. Although one of the biggest challenges are working with schools. So in schools, they have specialist subjects, they have literacy subjects, they have lots of different things, and each school has their own need. So to work with the schools, firstly, building the relationship is vital, but there are certain schools that we can't go in during a specialist time. We can't go in. We have to only book certain slots, whereas other schools are quite flexible. Come in whenever you want. We need the help. So I think trying to ensure that we're using our time effectively is vital there. Some days having those big gaps in between clients, so it might be an hour to an hour and a half because I can't actually go and see this client until, let's say, 1:30. Yes, it's great where there's a time beforehand to do any administration work, but you are on the road. And so the fatigue kicks in, actually each day driving to and from clients as well, whether it's their home or school. So fatigue would definitely be one, and just using time effectively to ensure that we're delivering the service, but also having the time for ourselves to continually upskill and do the administration work that we need to as well.
Yeah, cool. I love it. Love what you've shared there. I think the first chat that we had, you pulled over on the side of the road. You were in between appointments at the time as well. So again, it's lovely that you've shared sort of your experience of that. So how have you gone about finding mix or the approach to all those different things that you want to cover off, from looking after yourself as your business owner, the practitioner, from the business side of things and getting the right schedules in place, to then making sure that you're getting time for the education and being able to manage that effectively? Because again, a lot of the time you hear about the idea of the task switching can be distracting, and tying to that fatigue that you've touched upon there. It sounds like that's a very real thing. So what have you done to try to, I don't like using the word overcome, but the way that you've tried to manage that process for how you work?
So I schedule my week. I try and keep Mondays as an administrative day. And that may be anything from follow-up phone calls to writing reports to anything, upskilling, professional development. And then the other days I do drop off for my own daughter, and then I will start my work day. So my work day will then go up until almost her pickup time. So the school finish time around 3. And then from there, I do administration later in the afternoon. I do all the client facing work first. And then in the afternoons, it's quieter, work from home, and being able to do your progress notes, follow up emails, phone calls that are as required. During the school holidays, though, we do make time to ensure that there is an adequate professional development in, a lot more engagement with families via telehealth. A lot of families also go away and they need a break. We also need a break. There is therapy burnout that does happen on both ends. So we ensure that each school holidays that we allocate the time that we do our professional development and learning. And at the same time, liaise with families who I guess are most vulnerable and really need that extra sort of check-in with us. We might do some telehealth calls during that time, but that's also our downtime before we then start up again for a busier term.
Oh, I'm loving this on so many levels, in as much as it sounds as though you've had a very methodical and structured approach to working a way that's going to work for you as much as it is going to work for your clientele there. And having a young family myself, and I can just hear that reverberating through what you've set up for you and your little one. And I'm going to trotting around furiously here because it actually echoes some of the way that I'm reconfiguring some designing of our business and the like. And I love how on a Monday, and I sort of think of, you've used the primacy effect quite a here in how you've structured your week. We talk about primary key effect from the financial side of things with the methodology that we use, but Monday we get done all the admin stuff because it's good to get that done, get it focused so that if I put it at the end of the week, then it's unlikely to get done. I don't have much energy left, and that you're doing some of the things then later on the week that gives you the energy, and I can see you bouncing into your client stuff, and on the individual days for the remainder of the week, you're doing that first thing, and then you're getting work done, and you're covering off the admin work a little bit later as well. But I'm presuming that if there is a little bit of overflow, it's like, I've got my block on Monday, I can come in, I knock it all over, and then I'm at it, I'm ready to go. Is that a fair way about how you've gone about designing that?
Exactly. Yeah. And the point of having that Monday is to ensure that you're having that break before you go into such a busy week. I also break it up midweek. So on a Wednesday, I work alongside a pediatrician. So in the clinic setting, these are mainly for families who are in a high sort of vulnerable area here in Melbourne. And so the families have access to come to a clinic if need be. There are some families that they don't want us to come out to their homes, and that's completely fine. There are children who also don't go to daycares or kinders as yet. So they do need a space to come to. So we have that option there for them on a Wednesday. And then we continue the mobile visits on the Thursday and Friday. Another thing I do, which I think is different with other business models, is I leave a communication book for every client. What that is it's just a plain book, and in there I write notes from the session, any strategies, any skills, and this is post-session. Educators have access to it, teachers have access to it, parents have access to it. It works amazingly because if something has gone on that week, or there's been, something that they really want to celebrate even, which I love, great stories as well. Everything is in there. It's like a one-stop shop. It doesn't get lost in email. Parents really love that. It works really well for schools. They have educational support officers that write in there, the learning support aides, wellbeing teachers. They might say, look, we've had a really tricky week. So as soon as I've gone in and I've had a read and I've gone, okay, this child's had a difficult week this week. How can I adapt how I'm going to approach this session? Or they've had such an amazing week. So what can we do to then ensure that we're stepping up there?
Yeah, building upon that. That's so good. And even to touch upon as well, that the framework of sort of term-based and holidays. It's kind of that idea of we're working full on, but then as humans and on both sides, everybody needs that bit of a breather, whether it's the telehealth call, whether it's just the downtime, let's consolidate, let's do what we need to do to, again, which then no doubt feeds into your home life as well, where you want to make sure you have a bit of time in the holiday time in this space. So
it's encouraging for families. I think they also then have the power to be like, I also need to take a break and just connect and be with our children. And it's not all about therapy every week, every fortnight. It's okay to take a break and then to come back.
I love it so much, and I've got no doubt that our listeners out there are just taking over as much as what I am around, again, just loving the intentional approach and the intentional design, starting from, no doubt, before you started running your own practice there of, how can this work? How does it work for me? How does it work for our clientele? How does it work for the ripple effects? And I've loved every little bit of that conversation and the experiments that you've done there. So I'd love to hear of some of the transformations that you've had or you've seen that sort of stick in your mind there that you're getting off the back of this approach. What's one or two of those ones that you can see your face already lighting up a little bit? I know there's so many of them, but if you pick out one or two of the little transformations of taking somebody from here to the outcomes that they were looking for.
I mean, I work with so many families who come to me with a child who presents as developmental delay from the start. And a lot of families will say, I just don't know how to play with them. And it sounds simple, but for them, they just don't. Culturally, I think, are used to giving kids the toys and they just play. The modelling, they're not really sure how to model, how to engage and connect with their children. So my biggest thing for most families, and in particular the ones that have had the biggest changes, is to actually connect with your child first, to build the relationship, the rapport. And as we do, it's not always that you meet a child and you get on. You're really working to build that relationship with them and their families. But I've worked with numerous children from trauma backgrounds. I've worked with families who are culturally, linguistic and diverse backgrounds. I also speak Tamil as well. So I have a lot of families who will come and see me, and because I can engage with them on that level and speaking that language, they're then able to make those changes. There's lots of taboo around disability and neurodiversity. And so really empowering some of these families, especially the families who initially will say to me, I don't want anyone to know. This is between us. I don't want anyone to know that my child is autistic or has ADHD. And I make it a point to empower them to talk about their child and their strengths, because every child is unique. Every child is beautiful and has their own strengths and skills. And I want to ensure that the family are able to be proud of that and make change.
So good. I'm lost for words a little bit there, just pausing to let that settle for everybody out there. And again, that's what working in the allied health space, that's what everybody gets into professions like these for, to have those experiences and have that impact on the community that we all serve. Thank you so much for sharing your story, your learnings, your insights, your model, and what you're sort of achieving there. And time has flown by, so we'll start to wrap this up a little bit. But again, I'm sure there's plenty of other allied health business owners out there that'll be interested to connect and reach out off the back of hearing you talk today. Where's the best place for people to find you and get in touch?
We are very active on our Instagram. So at Speak to Sparkle, we have constant posts, little bite-sized posts that go out, I think 3 times a week on easy tips. And I have families reach out, educators. So you can message on there. We'll definitely get back to you and reply. We also have an online referral form or a send us a message tab on our website at www.speaktosparkle.com.au. And I've met lots of lovely families, educators, even other business owners and other allied health staff that we're constantly networking with. So yes, I would love to continue building those relationships.
That's awesome, because that's what this podcast is all about. And that's what we're finding. One of the amazing benefits is we're showcasing so many great businesses and business owners doing awesome things that are open to connecting and collaborating and just learning from each other at the end of the day. So we'll make sure we'll put all those details into the show notes this episode here today. So make sure you do reach out to Shakila and follow her content and learn plenty more along the way as well. Once again, thank you very much for joining us on the call of the episode today.
Thank you so much, Craig. It's been absolutely lovely to chat with you. I could chat all day.
I appreciate that. These episodes could easily be double or triple what they are, so you need to keep them bite-sized. But I also leave that as an opportunity. Who knows? We'll have people back, no doubt, as we continue to evolve this podcast over time. We'll continue some conversations as well. Thank you once again. And that's over and out from us at the Healthy Business Lab podcast. And as always, like, subscribe, follow along to hear many great stories and insights from fellow allied health business owners. Thank you very much. Bye. Thank you for listening to the Healthy Business Lab podcast. Make sure you subscribe to keep up to date with all the latest episodes.